Hi there. Now we're going to do lesson 100. My part is essential to God's plan for salvation. Paragraph 1. Just as God's Son completes his Father, so your part in it completes your Father's plan. Salvation must reverse the mad belief in separate thoughts and separate bodies, which lead separate lives and go their separate ways. One function shared by separate minds unites them in one purpose. For each one of them is equally essential to them all. This is not only letting us know what God's plan is, but also how essential it is that we assume, take responsibility, choose to really truly own how important we are in God's entire plan. When one of us holds back, we are holding back on the entire plan for salvation. That's why it's so crucial that we accept this, because when we begin to share the truth that we have discovered, we share it with one person, we have extended the kingdom. We withhold the sharing and we have contracted the kingdom. So paragraph 2, God's will for you is perfect happiness. Here again, we are reminded that happiness is what the Creator has created for us to experience. If we can see that the kingdom of heaven is nothing more than a playground, this entire planet, this entire universe, these galaxies, a playground for God to express itself in all the different ways that it can, for us to come together and learn how to love one another, to uphold and uplift and inspire each other. Of course, we will create heaven on earth. Now what appears to be separate is operating inside of one common goal. And what should that goal be? To acknowledge our happiness. That's it. God's will for you is perfect happiness. When we're living authentically, we are happy people. That's what will create heaven on earth. Paragraph 2 still, and sentence number 2, why should you choose to go against his will? The part that he has saved for you to take in working out his plan is given you that you might be restored to what he wills. So each one of us has been given the part of aligning our will with God's will. Then when we all, by free will, by a personal desire, choose to align with that, oh my gosh, it'll be beautiful, beautiful heaven on earth. This part is as essential to his plan as your happiness, our understanding how important we are, how essential it is to God's overall plan that we participate by free will. It's as important as our happiness. Your joy must be complete to let his plan be understood by those to whom he sends you. When you become a joyful person, you're not judging. Once you're inside of that joy, others who are going to be sent to us, because when the students are ready, we as the teachers appear, just as when we were ready as students, teachers appear to show us the way, point to the way. Then what happens is that they see our happiness, they see how joyful we are, how compassionate, how caring, how peaceful. In a world of stress and anxiety and dog world, and you got to climb to the top and work hard to achieve anything, where nothing comes easy, we are stressed out to the max. So when we see somebody who's peaceful and happy, that's very appealing. That's what turns our light on. That's how we become light workers. It's like a light is shining from inside of us. Why? Because I am the light of the world. So now nothing is blocking my light. I become like a beacon that others can see and can be attracted when they're being sent to us. We have to acknowledge that there is a synchronistic plan at work. And when one of us turns on our light, God knows who turned on their light. And then they begin to come our way, just so that they can see the evidence that when we choose love, it really, really makes a difference. So paragraph 2, sentence 6, they will see their function in your shining face. Those who come to us will see that their function is to be happy also. They will see that we're happy in our faces, and they will hear God calling to them in your happy laugh. When I hear somebody laughing, a child's laugh, a true belly laugh. It's so appealing. We want to move towards that. Unless, of course, we're really stuck in our story, then we got to get away. But when you are relatively moving in the direction of your awakening, somebody laughing is a magnet. And that can start a conversation that can lead somebody to their path to freedom, to their own salvation. So we got to turn on our light. We got to turn on our joy. What a great assignment, right? Paragraph 3. You are indeed essential to God's plan. Without your joy, his joy is incomplete. God's joy is incomplete when one of us turns our light down, dims it. The joy of the entire cosmos is incomplete. Without your smile, the world cannot be saved. While you are sad, the light that God himself appointed as the means to save this world is dim and lusterless, and no one laughs because all laughter can but echo yours. We're meant to be happy. We're meant to be joyful. When we do that, we radiate something that attracts others who want that. Our joy is the call to others to come and find God inside of them. When they feel that joy inside of them, God begins to awaken them. As they feel God awakening in them, they realize, well, happiness feels way better than being hurt or being anxious or being angry. Joy feels better than judgment. And as we begin to experience that, we want more of it. Happy people don't hurt anybody. Only hurt people hurt others. So if you turn on that happiness inside of you, which is your purpose, then the purpose of the whole planet is to experience happiness along with us. How simple is God's plan for salvation? Paragraph 4. You are indeed essential to God's plan. Just as your light increases every light that shines in heaven, our light, turn it on, it increases. If I turn mine on and I'm number, 9,099, it increases, because before that there was 9,098. And before that was 9,097. So every one of us that turns on our light, it's like it magnifies the amplitude of how much light can beam out of us. So let me read that again. Sentence number 2 in paragraph 4. Just as your light increases every light that shines in heaven, so your joy on earth calls to all minds to let their sorrow go and take their place beside you in God's plan. Yeah, we inspire others when we get happy. God's messengers are joyous, and their joy heals sorrow and despair. Our joy heals others, because when they accept their happiness, they're accepting their healing. When they accept their joy, their light, they're accepting everything about them that makes them whole and complete. They are the proof that God wills perfect happiness for all who will accept his Father's gifts as theirs. My gosh, yeah, when we accept that happiness, we know that it is God's plan. Paragraph 5. We will not let ourselves be sad today, for if we do, we fail to take the part that is essential to God's plan, as well as to our vision. Sadness is a sign that you would play another part instead of what has been assigned to you by God. Now, let me take a second and talk about sadness here. God did not create sadness. Sadness is what we experience when we block joy. So we have to acknowledge we cannot do this spiritual bypass, and pretend we're not sad. If sadness is being experienced, it's because we blocked it, we've suppressed it, and nowhere in here does it tell us that we're to pretend that that's not there. We are to know it is not real and it doesn't have power over us. But what happens is when we allow joy to flow, we hold our sadness with compassion, we begin to move that sadness from us. We begin to move it through us. It's that energy that needs to be put back into motion that got suppressed. The joy that got suppressed turns into pain, into discomfort, into sadness. So we need to acknowledge that we are the ones who have to make a conscious choice to let it move again. So you hold that sadness lovingly. It's a part of me that in my immaturity I withheld. So now I'm going to set it back into motion. So it's like if birds are meant to fly, correct? So if you take a bird and you keep it captive and you keep it in your house in a cage, denying that there is a bird in the house in a cage is silly. Let's just acknowledge, okay, there's a bird in the house. Let's put it back into motion. Let's let that bird go. Well, the only way to let that bird go and acknowledge what's happening is to open the door to the cage, open the door to the house, and let that bird fly out. Same with sadness. We got to acknowledge that we did this to ourselves. So we're creating a miracle by opening the door, moving sadness through. And when it flies out, it's done, it's gone. If you don't block your joy, your future joy again, that joy will continue to move. That is what is real, or we suppress it when we reel it in. All right, so sentence number 4 in paragraph 5. Thus do you fail to show the world how great the happiness he wills for you when you're sad, when you're choosing sadness as the way that you are experiencing life. Thus do you fail to show the world how great the happiness he wills for you, because we're not being happy when we're all sad. And so you do not recognize that it is yours. Of course, sad people don't know that happiness is theirs. They think happiness is not theirs. It's not possible. What they don't understand is that they're suppressing it. It's really there, but it's not been set into motion. The bird is in the house. They're just not admitting that it's their job to let it go because they don't want to admit that they put it in the house for whatever reason. Paragraph 6. Today we will attempt to understand joy is our function here. If you are sad, your part is unfulfilled, and all the world is thus deprived of joy along with you. You deprive yourself of joy, you deprive the world of joy. When somebody is sad and you decide to get all sad with them, you've deprived the world of joy, because what is most important is for you to acknowledge somebody who is sad and just recognize that's where they are choosing to be. That's how they're using their power. That's what they're willing to do in the moment. You don't have to stop your joy for them. That does not give them the example of what it is that they're missing, which is a fine line in this world where we want to be joyful and we're also being mindful of other people. But to block your joy is to deny your function as God gave it to you. So just be aware that you're doing that. You're denying your joy deliberately if you don't want to be too joyful around miserable people. I've done that, and that does not feel good. It does not feel good at all. Until I decided and I committed to being my joyful self no matter what, I did not feel authentic. But we're all going to come to this as we come to it. Ask the Holy Spirit inside of you to guide you, and you will make the right decision for you. So God asks you to be happy so the world can see how much he loves his son, and wills no sorrow rises to abate his joy. No fear besets him to disturb his peace. The happy people are the ones who are these shining examples for how God created and intended us to be, which is why you look at little children. They tend to be happy. Why? Because they're so close to the source. It's natural still. The mind hasn't been programmed with all the ways to suppress their happiness. They're not quite manipulating people, so the ego's not that fully developed and in a state of creating conflict. But it doesn't take long for those little kids to begin to suppress their happiness. However, God asks you to be happy so the world can see how much he loves us. And you know, the people who really know God are the happy people. That's just plain and simple. If you're judging what anybody else is doing, you're suppressing joy. Don't pretend that you know God, because you really don't. You know God only when you feel that movement of joy, of the energy of love moving through you, and you feel your happiness. True happiness and peace. You are God's messenger today. Big job. We are God's messenger. You bring his happiness to all you look upon. Because as you see people, the happy you sees the happy them. Whether they are appearing happy or not, you know, oh, right, they're just using their free will however they want to. Just as I use mine to make myself sad, they're using theirs to be grumpy or to be agitated or to be ruthless. But I can still know that their happiness is the function God gave them. I can still acknowledge that for them. Why? Because I've done the work for me. All right, let me read that again. You bring his happiness, God's happiness, to all you look upon. His peace to everyone who looks on you and sees his message in your happy face. Man, when people see that you're peaceful and happy, wow, we become magnets. And then they ask you, how are you so happy? Why are you so happy? Duh, because it's my function, because I know God is in me and God wants me to be happy. God wants me to be peaceful. So I just acknowledge that for me. And boom, there I am, happy as can be. It's powerful, amazing. Paragraph 7. We will prepare ourselves for this today in our 5-minute practice periods by feeling happiness arise in us according to our Father's will and ours. So it's God's will, but the ours is what we have to align. We have to align with that. I know in this spiritual journey, lots of people want to say that, oh, if you're happy all the time, you're denying your joy, or you're denying your sadness, your anger, your frustrations, your fear. And that could very well be true. Because if we're denying that it's in here, we have to do the work of moving it. That's our choice, is to move that repressed energy, that suppressed joy. Underneath that cork of energy that is stuck is that wine of deliciousness, that flow of the water that wants to be freed. Well, all of our happiness and joy is stuck inside of us. The cork, the block, that's the work that we're to do, to acknowledge that we're the ones who blocked it. We're the ones who put it there. We're the ones holding on to our righteousness. We have to align our will with God. So we have to release all the energy that has been suppressed. That is the work of this spiritual journey, along with understanding how that got created, our beliefs, and how we began to block it. So it's a 2-part job. Acknowledge that we did it, how it got done, and then acknowledge that it can be undone, and we undo it through our will, our choice to experience happiness. The happiness is below the sadness. So you process the sadness, and then happiness flows. Let me read that again. Paragraph 7. We will prepare ourselves. It's a preparation for this today in our 5-minute practice periods by actively feeling happiness arise in us. So happiness arise. We are calling that happiness to come up, to arise in us according to our Father's will and ours. Begin the exercises with the thought today's idea contains. My part is essential in God's plan for salvation. We have to own it. We're important. It's a willingness, it's a choice, it's a deliberate action that we're taking. Then realize your part is to be happy. That's it. Only this is asked of you or anyone who wants to take his place among God's messengers. That's it. This entire book is telling us, you made yourself unhappy because you believed other unhappy people. Now, happiness is what is inside of you. Happiness is your birthright, is how God made you. You have to will yourself into happiness. You have to let it arise. You have to let your truth arise. We're letting our light shine. We're letting our peace flow. We're not being asked to go out there and find it and get it. We're being asked to let it out. Like the fine wine that has a cork to preserve it. It's like our ego has been preserving, holding back that deliciousness. We have to uncork ourselves. Think what this means. Sentence number 5 in paragraph 7. You have indeed been wrong in your belief that sacrifice is asked. Every time you chose not to be happy, you are wrong about that belief that you should somehow suppress your joy. You but receive according to God's plan and never lose or sacrifice or die. See, what is eternal will not die. And we're not sacrificing really, truly, because we're not going to lose our joy. It's all there. We're not sacrificing our joy. It's all there. We're just not enjoying it. We're not feeling it. We're not experiencing it. That's all. Paragraph 8. Now let us try to find that joy that proves to us and all the world God's will for us. It is your function that you find it here and that you find it now. Why? Because it's in here. For this you came. We came to the world for this. We keep reincarnating so that we can wake up. We were light beings who entered into the density of being just a human, forgot that we were divine and became just a human, bottled up our joy, bottled up our divinity because somebody else told us that we were supposed to chase it outside of ourselves. Once religion put God out there, once the stores told us that their merchandise is what was going to make us happy, or the cars or the jobs or the money, once somebody caught on to that we are all seekers of love, because love is what we are, so we're seeking for what we are. They began to point us out there, and we began to search for it out there. Well, the world is tired of searching and not finding, or getting stuff and still not finding the permanent joy. You get the house and you're still not happy. Now you got work to do. You get the husband or the wife, and now you're not happy because you got a relationship to take care of. You can't wait to have the babies, and now you're not happy because they keep you up at night. You got the new car, now you're not happy because you're afraid somebody's going to bump into it, or the child spilled the milk in it. So the things that we're chasing we've been taught that are outside of us. So we got to make a willing choice, conscious choice, to find what we came to do. We came to be happy. Now we got to find that source of happiness. Let this one be the day that you succeed by choosing. My part is essential in God's plan for salvation. Happiness is in me. I want to feel it. I want to feel it arise. Look deep within you, undismayed by all the little thoughts, the blocks to the truth, and foolish goals you pass as you ascend to meet the Christ in you. All these goals. Well, when I meditate, I can do it. When I've been a good girl, I can do it. When I've been a good guy, I can do it. When I've done my confession, when I've done my penance, when I've done my bowing down, when I've prayed 47 times in 3 days, when I do that 10-day meditation, when I do the detoxing diet, when all those foolish thoughts and goals, we've got to say no to, and say, no, love is here, peace is here, joy is here, happiness here. Let it arise. We are ascending. We are bringing what we are to a higher level of consciousness. Instead of thinking as survival mode, fight or flight, we need to ascend our consciousness. We need to see with something inside of us that knows truth. We need to get logical about what's going on here. If joy is inside of me, if I was happy as a kid, where did that happiness go? Well, we learn to chase for it outside of ourselves. We got to get clear that that's all that's happened to every one of us. Now, the Christ is in me. The Christ consciousness is in me. The goodness, the Buddha nature, it's all in me. That's where God put it. That's where God put it. Paragraph 9. He will be there. Christ will be there when you decide to look for it. And you can reach him now. Now, not tomorrow or later, now. What could you rather look upon in place of him who waits that you may look on him? What could you look for that's better than that? What little thought has power to hold you back? Let me not go look. I haven't been good enough. I haven't done the right thing. That little thought has no power to hold you back except you believing with it that it has the power to hold you back. What foolish goal can keep you from success when he who calls to you is God himself? Oh my gosh, God, Jesus are one. Jesus said it, I and the Father are one. Jesus is giving us the map to come inside. This is God giving us a map to come inside. Jesus is saying the Christ is in here because that's where God put it. God and Jesus are one. Okay, so God and Christ have to be one. Who created me? God created me. God created me as light, as love, to be happy. All these things have to tie together, and one day you go, wow, God is in me. Underneath the cork that I've built to block my truth, because everybody else taught me that that's what I was supposed to do, I'm going to release that block. I'm going to accept that goodness is in me, and I'm going to let it flow. Man, that's a powerful decision. Now we align our will with God's, and it must be so. It has to flow. Paragraph 10. He will be there. You are essential to his plan. You are his messenger today, and you must find what he would have you give. Do not forget the idea for today between your hourly practice periods. It is your capital S self who calls to you today. My capital S self is God calling to me to come and own the truth of who I am. And it is Him you answer. God is calling me to come back inside, so I'm answering myself by coming within me to my higher self. Every time you tell yourself you are essential to God's plan for the salvation of the world, you're answering God's call. Tell yourself with joy, my part is essential to God's plan for salvation. Why? Because when I find my joy, when I find my happiness, when I find my peace, I free the world from my judgments, my condemnation, my ideas of lack and worry. Then I'm no longer here a leech trying to get things from the world. I'm here, the bringer of love, peace, light to the planet. And I will receive the joy of giving it, because as that flows through me, I'm experiencing the elixir of love that quenches anything that I ever imagined. Any desire that I ever imagined could be fulfilled by anything outside of me. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I hope you will do these practice periods and give yourself time to really recognize that we're not denying that there's sadness there, because it is a block that we have created to joy. We're just willing to let sadness move. We're saying it has no power over us, and then the joy begins to flow. Amazing. The processing of the sadness will take place, because that which is assisting us is going to guide us to the right perfect place to process that. But our work is to acknowledge the truth that has been true always and exists right here, because that's how we're going to be able to make the decision to come inside and claim the truth as God created it. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next lesson.